Beach Retreat is a club. What we find is that owners want to be part of that. We were always very clear from day one that Beach Retreat is a collection of holiday lets which are within walking distance of the beach.
What percentage of properties do you turn away?
Oh my, it's more than half, absolutely.
How do you achieve a direct booking rate of 97%? What are the key amenities you need to drive reservations? And why should you refuse to list properties which don't align with your brand values? Andy Easton from Beach Retreats is the special guest on today's House Planet podcast, and he'll be sharing the secrets to scaling to more than 240 exceptional properties in Cornwall.
Andy, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. You run more than 240 rentals in Cornwall and have a direct booking rate of 97%. How do you achieve this?
Yeah, it's a very simple question with many kind of like levels to the answer. I think I've picked out maybe a few key points that help us to achieve that. And probably the first one is that kind of mindset of a hospitality business. We are a sister brand to Watergate Bay Hotel. So we kind of work in very much a hotel lifestyle focused environment, which gives us that kind of hotel mindset to looking after guests. So we're very conscious about looking after them, the importance of their time when they're down here on holiday, and making sure that everything's perfect for them if something goes wrong. We employ a very fascinating mix of personal and tech. That dynamic is people, and we're talking about holidays which are very personal to each individual guest. But then there's technology, which is kind of saving us a lot of the processes around the automation of guest messages, for example, and practical information. But then also we do a lot of work around understanding our guests' behaviour and what they like to do. So we do a survey regularly about what they like to do when they're here. But also we look at their journey from look to book, which I think is a really important part of it, in that it's common. It's a leisure purchase. Often it's a family holiday. And what that means is that it's not a spur-of-the-moment purchase. So when we consider our e-newsletter, when we consider our social media, it's very much a drip of Cornwall and Cornish life and what it means to stand on a Cornish beach. And just talking about that drip. So when they are ready to make that decision to purchase, Beach Retreats, the brand, is foremost on their mind. I think you can apply that to any kind of location or accommodation type, in that if I'm looking for a city break, I have a different set of questions to answer about what I'm looking for. Maybe my look to book window is a lot shorter, but thinking about who your customer is and what they're looking for, I think really helps us to shape that messaging and really kind of like go that extra mile over and above what the guest is looking for. And we also talk about the digital guest guide, connecting our guests to local communities. They really want that authentic Cornish connection to a local business, not Costa Coffee or Sainsbury's or Waitrose. It's about the local deli, and it's about the local coffee shop on the beach, which isn't necessarily easier to find. So using technology to connect the guest exactly where they're stopping to what they can walk to, and just really kind of connecting. That's really what the guests are looking for. So understanding what the guest is looking for, not what we think they want to do, has been a real kind of like part of it as well.
Yeah, having the guest at the centre of all that content that you're creating.
Okay, real talk now for all you hosts out there. You know that moment when your guest messages you again with, "Hey, what's the Wi-Fi code?" Or you're staring at 5 different calendars, wondering if you've accidentally double booked the cottage. Yes, We've all been there. That's why here at Host Planet we recommend Hostfully. It's basically your rentals control centre. It handles bookings across all the big platforms, syncs your calendars to ensure there are no double bookings, automates guest messages, and even creates these really slick digital guidebooks that stop all the repeat questions. Honestly, it just makes your life easier and keeps your guests happier, helping you achieve those all-important 5-star reviews. And here is a little bonus. If you're a Host Planet listener, you can get $500 off onboarding for Hostfully's property management software and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. Just hit the link in the show notes and use the codes PLANET500 for the PMS and HostPlanetGB for the guidebooks. And if you'd like a proper walkthrough, there's also a link to book a demo with Frank Bosey from Hostfully. He will show you how it all works. Less stress, more bookings, sorted with Hostfully.
If you were starting out tomorrow with a property management business and you have to get maybe 3 things right to get as many direct bookings as possible, what 3 things would you focus on?
To get direct bookings, well, obviously the website is key. It's still very much a part of, we spend a lot of time developing and considering how people use our website. So having that easy to book, like with live, and it's such simple things. It's live availability, removing all the obstacles that a guest might see to make it easier to book with confidence, knowing that you are credible. Then just having kind of understanding good social media, good search engine optimization. Google is still important. If it's got Gemini or Google Local and the different elements of Google now, being visible on a more long tail search term, which is likely to convert, and just making it easy for people to answer the questions that they're looking for. I mean, we're a marketing company, but I think our website does have a lot of functional things which are really, really important. We talk about brand, but if I can't see how big the garage is to get my car in, if I can't see the steps between the front door into there, if I can't see if the garden is enclosed, these are the kind of details that a guest is looking for. And if you can spend a bit of time getting really kind of detailed on the individual property, that really helps to answer all the questions that allow the guest to commit.
Yeah, so important to answer all the questions that a guest might have. And I guess put yourself in the guest's shoes. I mean, how important is it for you to know and understand your target guest? And how have you created that avatar?
It's, we use a technology. We have Facebook lookalike audiences, and the guest surveys are really good in that we know how old our average guest is, male or female, where they live. We have a heat map for where they live as well, which we can get actually from within our PMS now. And it's really understanding both who they are and what they're looking for as well, because I say it's very different for different types of accommodation. For us, it's about creating or delivering a space where that holidaymaker can get what they want, which is just relax and escape. Is it just spending time with loved ones? Is it work? It could be a mix of all 3. And actually just understanding that and asking the guest a question, because it's not for me to decide what a guest wants to do. It's what they want to do. And everybody's slightly different, but they all want the same thing. And that is to relax, to recharge, to spend time together. And that's what we're striving to deliver.
We've spoken quite a few times on our podcast series about one of the easiest direct booking strategies is to get repeat guests, the guests who have come and stayed and they've loved your place. How do you make sure that your guests keep coming back and booking with you?
So we have the automated emails, and I think we will send a message on the eve of the departure. And it's probably that moment where, it's my last night. Oh, what we're going to do? Oh, I don't want to go home. It's like I'm back to work, and I'm going to miss the sunset and the sea. It's looking fantastic. It's probably that moment on the eve of their departure where they start to think, I need to pack my bags. where you can capture them. So we have just a small offer that we send out to them if you book again. But that's probably one. So we do about 30% of our bookings before the beginning of the next year, so bookings for next year. And I think a lot of that is just delivering on what people want and being accurate. And if something goes wrong, that we're there quickly and we're fixing dishwashers, hair dryers, providing extra bedding very quickly. That hotel mindset again, remember that? And that really helps. But underlying all that is, of course, is a brand. And it's that walk to the beach. It's being in a good location with a good quality kitchen, bathroom, furnishings, and knowing that if I book again, then I know that I'm going to get that mix of quality and premium location, but I'm going to be looked after as well.
When it comes to selling the experience on your social media channels or on your website, how do you sell the experience of staying in your properties rather than just showcasing the actual property itself?
Well, I think this is a trap that many of us fall into in the sector, in that I can share a photograph of a living room or a nice kitchen or a bedroom, which it looks lovely, stunning, well photographed, but for our guests, that's what they've got at home. So it's kind of, well, that's nice, but we talk about moving your house down to by the sea for a week, for example, one of our messages. But then what do guests want to do? So when we survey our guests, it's people do spend time in the property. So they want to be away from their 9 to 5, just sitting, relaxing. So it's actually kind of like the activity rather than the fact that this is a nice sofa to relax on or a nice view. It's what I'm doing when I'm there. So, and that extends outside the property. So we'll do a lot of content around walking the coastal path, which is particularly relevant to where our properties are. But I mean, the one thing that I still struggle to capture in terms of social media is to be stood on a Cornish beach, to be surrounded by cliffs and the rolling surf and the sound, the seagulls, the space that you've got and the senses, how that impacts you, how you convey that in social media is really, really difficult. But that's really what it's all about. And to tell that story about what it means for your own mental health, whether you're in the water surfing or swimming, yoga on the beach, or whether you're just walking with a dog and your family and the kids are in the rock pools. It's just those kind of micro moments. Like I say, we're not selling the 4 walls. We're helping people make their own memories. And trying to remember that in amongst your content plan really helps us.
How important are word of mouth recommendations? And in terms of guests sharing the experience that they've had with beach retreats, do you encourage them to share photos on social media and tag you and things like that?
I think that happens naturally. It does happen where it's bragging rights, isn't it? For look at my Instagram, look at me on the beach with my perfect family and having a great time. So we've got very shareable content, and that can. It's not like a quick win, a direct trackable action, because what happened is, again, we're not talking about high volume sales here. We're talking about once a year, typically, maybe twice a year. So actually, it's something that might plant a seed in 6 months' time. So my neighbour went down to Cornwall 6 months ago. I look back on their social media feed and I do a bit of digging. I find that on beach retreats, they popped up in my social media the other day, and it's that kind of that top level of brand awareness that just starts that journey, going onto the website, getting the newsletter, talking to the team, making a decision, booking the time off work, deciding your budget, and it's quite a long journey from that initial referral to the actual putting your credit card details in. So we're quite, we're not aggressive in that respect of trying to push and push and push. It's letting people, and our guests are, affluent, they're educated people. They know what they want. They don't need to have a big yellow book now button. They don't need to know that 7 other people are looking at this property. We're here to help them choose what is relevant to them. That's all it is.
Have you tried any strategies which maybe haven't been that successful?
So we do connect onto a few OTAs for that 3% of bookings. We have connected to a few OTAs which haven't worked for us, but I'm not going to name names there. We're connected to Google Vacation Rentals with live availability, and it doesn't track bookings, but it probably plays, some contribution to the overall conversion rate at some point in that guest journey. But try it, see how it goes. You can try quickly and get out if it doesn't work, but at least we've got the evidence there, and it's all data driven, which is great.
Tell us about how you've built the Beach Retreats brand, and what are the unique selling points of your business?
Yeah, sure. So we were always very clear from day one that Beach Retreats is a collection of holiday lets which are within walking distance of a beach. That was kind of the overarching entry criteria. I think the average is about 260 metres from the beach on average, each property. And that's really important in Cornwall, as I'm sure it is elsewhere, in that if I am able to walk to a beach, I'm not in my car, especially in July and August, which driving to a beach in Cornwall can be challenging when it's busy. So the idea of just being able to kind of step out your front door and walk to a beach is something quite compelling in our messaging. But so it was always walk to the beach, and then a good quality interior fit and finish. The kind of kitchen you'd be comfortable cooking in, the kind of bathroom you'd be happy using. And then the third element was that it was a good beach. So the idea that you could walk to a surf school, to a beach bar. So it was kind of on the right beaches. And having those 3 criteria and saying no to a lot of potential business has really helped us to maintain the brand and the occupancy and the net promoter score and the return guest percent. I think about 55% will book again this year. So really high return. And of course that helps with occupancy and for the owners as well.
It's interesting there you mentioned the strict criteria really that you have for your properties. I mean, what percentage of properties do you turn away?
Oh my, it's more than half, absolutely. Obviously, we're probably a bit quieter now in terms of inquiries because of the nature of the market, but still, you can almost tell straight away which kind of property our guests will want to book. And it's not, it's about retaining that brand and that portfolio, but also it's about the kind of properties we know that will book. Because if it doesn't book, we're just wasting our time and effort on the photography and the preparation and the like. So we then have confidence that this property will book. And of course, that is important for our local reputation as well.
So quality over quantity has been one of the driving forces of your business. And what would you say to maybe other property managers who they just want to scale and scale and scale, and maybe they're losing that quality because they're taking some rentals on board that are just not really going to sell?
That's a real challenge for scaling in this sector, I think, is that we had about 40, 50 properties when I joined 12 years ago. And we've grown at 10, 20% every year, gradually, organically. And we structured the business in a way that it had scale. But still, there's a real real dynamic of growth and in the sector, which I find quite hard. If I'm growing, how do I ensure that each property has got the level of detail that will help convert it? So you really, and each guest has a lot of questions which typically require manual intervention at the moment from the reservations team and from the owner services team to make that booking happen, to manage that property, to manage that owner. And it's like I say, it's a holiday. It's questions like, can the cheese grater cope with a particular size of block of cheese? And it's like questions like that, which you can't really plan for, but require that personal service that for the owner, it's a kind of labour of love. It's a pension pot. They need that conversation with a person at the moment. But for the guests, it's making sure it's perfect, because it could be a wedding anniversary or a birthday, and a special birthday. Everyone's got a story as to why they're booking their holiday. For many people, it's the annual thing, but for a lot of other people, it's quite of significance for many, many reasons. And people are recovering from illness, people are having special, like their birthdays, wedding anniversaries, it's baby's first holiday, it's a wedding proposal on the beach, and that you've got to kind of almost have that mindset to deal with those individual, unique scenarios, which kind of make up a leisure self-catering holiday or holiday let.
In terms of being very selective over the properties that you take on board, how has being quite exclusive helped you to grow your brand?
It's a good question. It's a club. Beach Retreat is a club. And what we find is that owners want to be part of that. Their property resonates with our brand and our brand values. So when they contact us, the actual conversion sales process is actually probably quite easy. There's not like a hard sell and generous commission offer to sign you up today. They're kind of already made, about 80% of their mind is already made up, because their property, they like our marketing, they like how the properties look, their property fits into our portfolio, and we're just kind of talking them through the last few questions that they have to onboard. And again, this is not a volume exercise. We've deliberately didn't go into Devon. We haven't expanded outside of Cornwall, and we've gone sensibly and naturally. But that just means that we know that each owner is going to get the same standard of service.
I'm sure there'll be people out there who want to invest in Cornwall and buy a property that would be accepted by Beach Retreats. So if you were advising somebody who was making an investment in Cornwall, what are the key things they have to get right from day one to set themselves up for success?
Yeah, I think it's choosing the right property. And we do help a lot of owners to choose the property. So it's not just a point where they're ready for that first guest that they contact us. We work with a lot of people who are looking to buy, and we'll help them with a rental projection, advice on ensuring it's got parking, any kind of covenants if it's an apartment in the development that might impact their ability to holiday let, making sure that it's got a sea view, it's got all the right elements inside. So it's very much it's an involved long-term relationship between the inquiry and the first guest arriving. But I mean, probably the one thing that is good to get right is the uniqueness of a property. Has it got something which just makes it stand out from other accommodation in that area? And that could just be one particular window which has got a view. It could be an enclosed garden. Interestingly enough, that people bring dogs or have young children that want to have that enclosed space. So having those kind of drawing upon our booking data to help them make sure that they're making the right investment before they actually buy the property is something that we've always done.
And what amenities do you need to stand out and make sure you've got a successful let in Cornwall?
Well, sea view has always been the obvious one. Having a sea view, and that's such a kind of like high value. What we find is that we have a development where the sea view properties at the front of the development charge a lot more compared to the ones at the back, but still they get better occupancy, and people they want to have that connection to the sea. So anywhere that you can connect people to the sea, either by a view or the walk to the beach. And we do a lot of small films where we're actually filming the walk from the front door of the property down to the beach, and telling that little kind of story really helps. So it's a connection to the sea, connection to the beach. So whatever that looks like. We talk about ensuite bedrooms nowadays, sufficient parking, being pet friendly, the obvious one. Electric car charging points is it feels ever more important, especially in Cornwall, where you try and charge your car publicly in August in Cornwall. You are probably in quite a long queue, and I don't think people really want to do that when they're on holidays, to sit in the Cornwall services for 2 hours waiting for a charger to become available. So having that allocated car parking charger is a good one.
Do you take part in much upselling to your guests? And if so, how do you upsell?
We focus on the guest experience. So really it's about that connection to the local providers. I mean, obviously we work with Y Hungry, who really kind of nailed the in-house dining experience. We work with a few other brands where they can deliver the co-steering, surfing, all the kind of experiences. But really for us, the value comes in having that right network of suppliers who can give the guests what they want. So it's not really, we don't really look at it as a revenue stream. It's about just making sure that the guest has that experience. And obviously we have small commissions here and there, but it's not part of the core business model.
And in terms of running beach retreats, what's the essential tech that you're using to run a successful property management business?
Yeah, I do like my tech, James. I'll say that now. But obviously, so we have Super Control, which is our PMS, and we migrated to that about 3-4 years ago, and that's got great connections now. So we're using TouchStay for the digital guest guide, and we've got Beyond Pricing, doing the dynamic pricing, and we've got Breezeway taking care of the operation side of it. And then we've got a few peripheral pieces of software on feedback and searching on live chat on the website. But there's a really nice way of describing it, which is technology will take you so far in this sector, at which point a human will drop in to complete that engagement. And that's a different point for every single engagement. But we've seen great relevant advances now in the world of technology, in the world of holiday lets, which hasn't been there for a long, long time, but it's there now, and we're really enjoying using it. And we're dabbling in AI, which is working with a partner who will review what we do and look at something bespoke and how it impacts the business. But I'm very much of the mind that we'll engage with AI when it benefits the business, and we're not just doing it because it's there. I think that's kind of it has to have some meaningful impact on the guest experience, on internal operations, and we're not just doing it to say that we use AI, which you got to be careful around that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's got to bring a benefit. You don't just want to be doing it to wave the AI flag, I guess. Of course, you've got the tech there that's helping you to manage the business, but we've had a lot of things thrown at the holiday let sector in recent years, whether it's tax changes, the prospect of EPC certifications, new fire regulations. We might be having a statutory registration. It's been quite a tough time, really, for holiday let owners. How has that affected the sector and affected your business?
I think I always bring it back to one thing which overrides everything. If you've got bookings for an owner, if you can fill the calendar for the owner, it's a lot easier to manage FHLs, EPCs, and the like. So if you do a good job, and we've been very transparent with our owners about what's happening. We said that this might happen, that might happen, but we'll talk you through it. We'll do all the HMRC reporting, which we're well advanced on for this year. I think we talk a lot about statutory registration for our owners, and I think we all are desperate for it to happen as soon as possible, and that will give everyone the informed insight into what properties are being used for what purpose in Cornwall and everywhere. But I think for me, probably the statutory registration will help create that level playing field, and it will make everyone safe and legal. And this is probably, it's not a great marketing message for guests or owners, but actually my frustration has always been that, when you drive a car, you have an MOT every 3 years. You go to a garage and it has to be there. It's all recorded. I don't know if people get on a flight, if the plane hasn't been checked, if all the kind of safety checks haven't been carried out on the plane, who sends their children to a school which doesn't have a fire risk assessment. So all these safety checks, which have been introduced for every sector, every section of our life, are there for holidays, but nobody's enforcing them. Nobody cares about them. And I can put a listing on an OTA in 5-10 minutes, and I can take a booking and I can have someone stay in that property the next day, which is, I think, still, which other sector of society is unregulated like that? Who else is allowed to continue on that basis? And I think statutory registration, if done right, will give the whole sector that shake-up, to professionalise it, to make it safe, and to create that level playing field with just a simple. We've tested the registration tool as well, the prototype. A simple case of uploading an in-date insurance certificate, an in-date fire risk assessment, gas safety. Having AI checking it feels like quite an easy piece of work to implement, which I think will just transform the whole sector and just give it that credibility that it needs.
Yeah, professionalization, I think, is very important. So we'll see what happens next with statutory registration. It appears to be on the way. How's your 2025 been so far, and what trends are you seeing in the industry that hosts and property managers should be aware of?
Yeah, sure. So we're in Cornwall, which I think is probably quite removed from many other parts of the country, with being so remote. Bookings this year have really good pace now. So we probably started the year slightly behind last year in terms of those bookings, but the pace has increased now, and we are 5% up year on year for pace. Really good April, really good May, and the run rate for June, July and August is really good as well. So it's starting to recover. I think I would say after a really tough year last year. We've done a lot of work around how we our marketing, how we work with owners, how we run special offers and use the dynamic pricing to make ourselves super competitive, and feel very positive for the rest of the year and bookings for next year, which are up again on where they were this year, 2026. What's the challenges, I guess, are more in the world of rising costs, I think, for owners. So changeover costs are going up, and it's not the actual physical cost of the hourly rate of somebody going to a property and doing a clean. It's the management of that for a company to organise the cleans, to make sure that we're very meticulous now, a checklist for a changeover clean. It's that pre-arrival check of the keys in the key safe, smoke alarm, CO2 alarm, bulbs, batteries, Wi-Fi, hot water, getting all those potential hazards, potential issues dealt with before the guest gets there. And that has a cost to do that properly and to have it all recorded properly, so that when the guest arrives, it is like walking in, being the first guest to go in that property. I think that's probably one of the kind of keys. We talk generally about running holidays and short lets. That guest who has driven a long way, so 4 or 5 hours from London, maybe they're in a car with their family, or maybe there's children in the back, maybe there's been a few delays on the dual carriageway driving down. So when I find I'm in a strange village, I find my parking space, I've got my key out the key safe, I open the front door, walk in, and I've got that fresh smell of clean material. I walk in, it opens up to a panoramic sea view, and I feel validated that after all that desk research, have chosen the right property for me and my loved ones, whoever I'm travelling with, and it's going to be okay. The week is going to be good. So that initial welcome, that initial touch point of arrival goes a long way in all the things we've been talking about.
Absolutely, yeah. The guests feeling like they're the first people ever to stay in the property. That should be the feeling, shouldn't it, for every single guest? All right then, Andy, we've got a few questions to finish. So you've mentioned a few already, but your favourite brand in the STR industry, apart from beach retreats, of course?
I think it's been mentioned a few times on your podcast, James, but we're using key data, and we're using it for board reports, we're using it for individual rental projections, for pace, for a number of applications. It feels like they've really got that data to a point where it's having a meaningful impact and has value to us. Obviously, we've been looking at industry data for a fair few years now, but it just feels like they've got that momentum now. What they've done and what they're doing going forward is really kind of tackling a very difficult area of our sector to get right.
Great shout out there for key data. An individual in the STR space you'd like to give a shout out to, and why?
Yeah, I've got two. I'm going to ask you for two. So we've got obviously we've got Alistair Handyside at Pask, who was invaluable during lockdown and still continues to bang the drum. He's brought the whole sector together in a way that wasn't there before. Tireless work in a very, very challenging environment. So we're big fans of Alistair and Pask. I'm also going to mention Mark Simpson of Boostly for the direct booking work that he does, and it's always good to catch on stage when he's talking about what they're doing, and such a creative, productive mindset for looking at how to do direct bookings. I am going to mention Richard Vaughton as well, who is a font of all knowledge in the sector, and he pops up everywhere, and he's always good for a coffee.
Three great friends of Host Planet there. Yeah, fantastic shout outs for Alistair, Mark and Richard. Finally then, your number one lesson learned since starting beach retreats?
Stay humble. I think I'm still learning. I'm still learning today. And it's been a great ride. We've achieved a lot, but actually continuing to learn, continuing to talk to other people, really helps. I mean, it's a great sector. I find myself having coffees with our direct competitors, agencies in other parts of the country and the board, and that openness that exists in the sector really helps us to kind of to think about what we do and to move it forward and to continue to innovate and grow.
Great message and really well said. Andy, thank you so much for joining us on the Host Planet podcast.
Cheers, thank you.
Great to chat to Andy Easton there about direct bookings, selling the experience, and much more. If you're looking for more free education, head to houseplanet.club, the fastest growing multimedia platform in the short-term rentals industry. We're proud to help hosts and property managers supercharge their businesses by sharing a wealth of free content. Head online to sign up for our newsletter, download our suite of ebooks, and listen to our podcast series. Until next time, happy hosting.